Hello, 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 and welcome back to A Course in Miracles. And thank you, as always, for joining me, whether it is from my personal YouTube channel, to which I invite you to subscribe. Let's click that button. Or whether you're joining me from Enlightened World Network. And if you are, I invite you to subscribe to that channel. Again, click that button. Yeah, so wherever you're coming from today, welcome, welcome. What we've got going on here is we're going through the well-known workbook for students. I say well-known because it's both famous and infamous at the same time. It is something that a lot of people are curious about, and rightly so. Rightly so, because A Course in Miracles itself is a self-study curriculum. It is a spiritual self-study curriculum at which you go at your own pace. Self-study, you take the lessons that you wish to take at any given time. And there are three main components. The workbook is just one of those, yet it may well be the best known. And it's known that way because so many people are curious about it. And so many people start it and never finish it. Hence the infamy, right? What's going on here is the ego, our false sense of self, constantly speaks to us and comes up with many, many reasons why we shouldn't wake up. That would mean dismissing the ego entirely, not making an enemy out of it and kicking its ass. It would mean simply acknowledging its non-existence and leaving it to the side. Therefore, our little self, right, lowercase s, creates every excuse in the book not to finish the workbook. Oh, I don't have time. It's the same excuse that people use not to meditate or engage in spiritual practice. I don't have time, right? Or, yeah, I just don't understand it. It's too complex for me. It just doesn't work for me. It's not my thing. Okay, well, if you've legitimately tried it and you've reached that conclusion, great, no problem, right? The cool thing about all of this is that it is universal. It's universal in theme and application. And one of the beauties of A Course in Miracles is that it works no matter what your background is. All are welcome. All. It's universal. In fact, spirituality is universal, and there are plenty of people who study and practice A Course in Miracles while they're actively engaged in another spiritual tradition, whether it is a more liberal, modern spiritual tradition that you see, or whether it's one of the world's traditional religions, doesn't make any difference, right? This material is universal, and it informs all paths. How can we say that? There's one path. One. This is a form of what the Manual for Teachers in the course calls the universal curriculum. We're all here learning who we are. We're unlearning, really. We're getting rid of the barriers to our experience of love, of who we really are. The truth of who we are has always been there. We're just cutting the clatter. We're removing the obstacles that we ourselves have imposed. So there is more material, of course, in these videos about A Course in Miracles. In fact, there are a number of introductory videos, and well, there are now over 300 of these and counting. So you'll have to scroll back all the way back for some of the introductory material, but I recommend these to you. If you have never studied A Course in Miracles before, again, welcome. There's several reasons why you're here. So My hope is that you find something of value, not just in this video, but in all of them, that informs your walk. That's why I'm doing this. That's why any teacher is doing this. It's to pretty much serve as an example of what your experience can be like when you choose your own strength. Not ego strength, by the way, not defeating other people in business or in battle. I mean, the strength of Christ. The truth in my mind calls to the truth in your mind. This is how healing operates, by the way. This is how awakening operates. What do? I simply show up and do as instructed. I share with you. And something is set to awaken in you. Whether I say it or whether it's another teacher, it is set and certain to awaken in you the desire, first of all, to experience what a healed mind experiences. In other words, there is a deep-seated urge in all of us to experience the peace of God. It's the call that we all hear. When you answer is your choice. Yeah, that's up to you. So I will say something in this video. If you watch it until the end, there will be something that you needed to hear. And it might come across as very abrupt or very loving. Maybe both. It's offered in the spirit of loving kindness, of course. Yet sometimes we need an abrupt awakening, don't we? Sometimes we get so entrenched in our habitual conditioned patterns of behavior, of ego clinging, of clinging to a sense of self that's opposed to every other supposed sense of self in the world. And I use the word supposed a lot in these teachings because what we appear to see out there is not reality. So whether you believe that right now, today, or not, doesn't matter. You'll hear it again from me, possibly, from other people, most definitely. We'll revisit all of these ideas again in the end. When? Could be today, could be your next lifetime. That, in fact, is entirely up to you. So that's part of the beauty of spirituality, is we are in control. We are not victims of the world we see. Not at all. So the idea that we're working with today in the workbook is lesson 310. And it's an invitation to you. It's an invitation to each and every one of us. It simply says, in fearlessness and love, I spend today. In fearlessness and love, I spend today. What happens when you choose love? There's no room for fear, is there? Love is total. It's universal. God is love. It's all encompassing. So when you truly choose it, when you truly forgive, when you truly act lovingly, there's no room for fear. There's no room to make a mistake. Fear simply vanishes in the presence of truth. It is exactly like turning on a light switch in a dark room. Say the darkness in the room symbolizes fear and anger and blame and ego clinging. In other words, thinking that you're a separate self-sustaining survival unit competing for supposedly scarce resources with other self-sustaining survival units in this pitched combat that we call economics. Scarcity. What's up with that, right? That's just one example. So, not saying don't make any money, make as much as you want to, because it means you can go to cool restaurants and do things and pay for the light bill and stuff. Matters. Yeah. What I'm saying, and what any spiritual teacher is saying, is engage in the world. Other people need you to engage with them because you teach them. You don't have to hold yourself out as a spiritual teacher, but when you embrace love, when you begin to lay your judgment and blame and fear to the side, love rushes in. It's all that is. We're removing the obstacles to it. The obstacles, we discover, do not lie on the other side of the world with a supposed political enemy or ally that's deceiving you, or someone who's attempting to get you to enter into a compromise negotiation in business. These obstacles are in our own mind. We've chosen to give them reality. We can choose to set them aside. So I invite you to entertain the notion that I believe you've already entertained consciously several times in this lifetime, or you wouldn't be watching this video. I invite you to entertain the notion that things are not as they appear. I mean, deep down, we all really kind of get that, don't we? We get that things are not as they appear. We have a choice. So choose to spend today in fearlessness and love. When you truly welcome love into your heart, there's no room for fear. You begin to discover, don't you? Because I know you've already sort of discovered this, an effortlessness and a grace, right? A sense of ease and flow where you're doing things, but it's not you doing them. See what I'm saying? It's not the little self that's doing the acting. That is what happens when you set your judgments aside, when you truly allow love into your heart. Everything proceeds exactly according to plan. Whose plan? Not your plan, not your ego plan, right? You know, it's not your business plan or your schedule for the day, which may or may not be littered with appointments. And maybe it is, maybe it's not. What we're talking about is the flow of, well, call it the universe if you want, call it the Tao if you want. There are many names for this in spirituality, in all traditions in the world. Yeah. Lesson 310 presents us with a beautiful statement and a choice. In fearlessness and love, I spend today. So as you go forth and apply this idea, if you're skeptical about what the day would look like, ask yourself, right? Ask yourself, okay, what would today be like if I spent it in fearlessness and love? What would it be like? What experiences would arise? How would I serve people? How would I benefit people? How would I benefit myself? Yeah. What impact would I have if I were to spend the day today in fearlessness and love? And when I noticed that I had gone off and lashed out in anger or fear or hatred, when I had indulged in habitual tendencies and reactions, what if I returned to love immediately through the practice of forgiveness? What if I had the present moment awareness to notice that I'd gone off track and lovingly forgive myself and return? What if? I invite you to think about what your day would be like. And if you like how you feel, know that it can be like that and so many times more, with unexpected blessings, with unexpected joys. They're amazing. So I invite you to do just this. You can probably hear the sound. Maybe the microphone's not picking it up, but there's a leaf blower across the street. Very interesting visual description that I'm throwing in here, absolutely free for you. I'm facing a window with a park and several trees, and there's a gardener crew out there shimmying up tall palm trees and trimming them. It's very interesting. It looks kind of dangerous to the physical body, but these dudes seem to know exactly what they're doing, which is pretty cool. Isn't that interesting, right? It's an interesting phenomenon to watch an expert, a master in their craft, whatever it is. It's really wonderful and interesting to watch them at work. Think about that mastery and how they got there. First thing that comes to mind might be through practice. Forgiveness, spirituality, same, right? As always, I invite you to take the day's idea here in the workbook and apply it, because that's where the action is. And if you're wondering how this might benefit you, well, that's a good question. Ask that of yourself. Think about what your day might be like if you fully went all in on this, if you chose love and nothing else. What would your day be like? If you like the way you feel when you think about it, do it. As the end result will be more than you ever imagined. All right, guys, we'll see you again soon.